Today on the Daily Charge, MoviePass throws a Hail Mary, Mozilla announces grant for the web program, and Amazon's got a big hardware launch event next week. Let's take a closer look.
Good morning and welcome to CNET's Daily Charge. It's Monday, September 16th. I'm Ben Fox-Rubin.
I'm Alfred Ng.
And here are today's stories. Okay, MoviePass was expected to shut down over the weekend after its parent company failed to raise enough money to keep the lights on. The service, which let folks watch up to a movie a day for $10 a month, was beloved by users, but it burned through cash. Alfred, were you a MoviePass user?
No, but I didn't know. Did you know that your company has to make money to stay like a company?
I was not aware of that.
That's wild. I guess they just didn't like make money. Who would imagine that allowing people to watch something that was usually worth about, $10 or to
$10 to
$20
$15,
a day
exactly.
for a whole month for only $10 a month wouldn't make money.
So one of the interesting aspects of this is that the more popular MoviePass became, the more money they actually burned through. So the more folks that started using the service, the more expensive it got for the company to actually make up for those outlays.
Shocking.
Yeah, I know, right? One of the things that I do appreciate about the existence of MoviePass is that, you're kind of introducing this Netflix model into the movies. So I feel like AMC, some of the other guys have actually at least tried to model after this, not nearly as cheaply.
Yeah, they're
obviously.
all like really bad, like bootleg versions of it though, where it's like you can only watch like 30 minutes of one movie
and then they make you
in
leave
a month. Get out. Like I remember when MoviePass tried switching to a model that might work for it. Everyone like, I hate all this. It's like you can only watch these movies that no one wants to watch.
Yeah.
And yeah, ultimately here we are. MoviePass. When are they gone?
I think they were expected to be gone this weekend. I just wanted to confirm that they were actually dead.
Okay.
But yeah, they said on Friday that we're toast, and then they were expected to shut down over the weekend.
Oh.
So yeah, poor guys. Too bad. Next up, Mozilla and its partners announced the $100 million grant for the web program, which will encourage companies to develop new business models that don't heavily rely on ad tracking. Alfred, you wrote this story. Tell us a bit more about it.
Yeah, so this grant is going to be distributed out throughout the next 5 years or so, and it's not like one project will win all that money. So they're basically investing in a bunch of different types of projects to see what avenue is out there that's not based on the current internet model that we have right now, right? Where everything is free, but you're being tracked across all of these websites that you go on, and then advertisers know how to target to you directly. They're hoping that there's an alternative to that. So they're not saying that we're going to get rid of the free internet or anything like that, but there should at least be some sort of alternative where, in the same way, if I don't disagree with, caged like chickens or something like that, there's alternatives for that, right? Like there's like Beyond
free
Meat
range
or whatever,
chickens,
or
right?
free range chicken even. Right now on the internet like spectrum, there really is nothing like to that level. There's no like, I want to be a conscientious buyer online and I only want to use like websites that don't violate my privacy or something like that, but still help them make money. There's really no way to do that currently.
Okay, so ultimately, I'm thinking about $100 million. $100 million feels like a lot of money and also very little.
Yeah.
So what are your impressions as far as how likely it is that they're actually going to make substantial change here?
I mean, I wish them the best of luck. I don't think that it'll make a substantial change in the next 5 years, but I do think that it would help give opportunities to projects that can later on, like, basically giving them like startup money, essentially. Not, I don't think the 100 million will solve everything immediately, but it does like give at least some sort of launching pad for companies that are thinking privacy. Focused like business models.
No, during the time that we were talking about it, I think Google made $100 million. So
that's
yes.
fair.
Yeah, that's probably what happened. Anyway, last, Amazon is planning its big hardware launch event for its Echo devices next week. Alfred, you've written a lot about privacy elements for the Echo devices and for Amazon's voice assistant. Are you hoping maybe they talk a little bit more about privacy features, or what are
They're not gonna. I really don't
feel
think
like they might. It's honestly gotten to such a level that it's almost like they have to, but maybe I'm wrong about that.
I mean, you were at the Amazon devices event in Seattle like last year, right?
Last year, yeah.
And how much of privacy did they talk about?
Very
there?
little.
Yeah,
very little. They were really just trying to push one feature and one device after another.
If anything, I think that they're going to be introducing more products that will like continue to erode at the level of privacy that we think that we have. And like they came out with like a clock and like a microwave last year, and all these
Those
other
were weird.
Yeah, and I don't know how popular those devices are. I mean, they might go the way of the dashboard button one day, which was also tracking your buying behaviors.
Oh, you're talking about the dash buttons
yeah,
that
the
they
dash
eventually
button
got
stuff.
rid
Yeah.
of. Yeah.
Also tracking your buying behavior. So honestly, I have no reason to believe that they'll come out saying privacy is a focus for them.
So one of the elements is like Amazon on the go, or Alexa on the go, has really been a big push. So they're trying to put it in the car. They're really trying to emphasize it on mobile. There might be like a wearable potentially where you would have the voice assistant, I don't know, baked into a pair of smart glasses. So one of the things to consider here is Amazon is trying to push Alexa in a more mobile atmosphere, whereas a lot of those privacy concerns become much more significant if now you have this voice assistant on the go with you.
Here's a big step they could take if they really wanted to talk about like valuing privacy. Putting all these privacy settings on by default, like the data collection stuff, deleting your records, all of that is stuff that you have to do on your own, right? Like you have to go to your settings and change it to say like, please delete all of this automatically within a few months or something like that. Or at least the Google history like settings lets you do that. So Apple with Siri, like they had recently announced that they're not going to be collecting any data by default.
Right.
So you have to opt in to be a part of their like little research program to improve their AI. No one else is doing that right now. You have to opt out for both of those, which is like if you really care about privacy more than you care about developing your AI to be better, a better product in the future, make that a by default thing. Like have people opt in to like give you their voice data.
I definitely think that would be a significant change. However, if they make that announcement at the hardware event, there's going to be like one privacy reporter in the back of the room that's going to, cheer. And then
I don't think they
else will
invited any privacy reporters.
Right. I'm not terribly surprised by that. So, but anyway, are there any specific products, by the way, that you would be interested in seeing? I figured I would at least ask you. Anyway, let's ask the Q&A folks, though. So anyway, it's a part of the show where we get to the live Q&A. So anybody that's watching, send in your questions and comments, and we want to find out what people are interested in, not only with the stories that we're talking about, but also with the hardware event next week. BVG, what have we got for today?
Let's start off by jumping right back in and backtracking into MoviePass. Now, that is something I never particularly invested in. It was gifted to me as like a secondhand thing back in the day, and I never got around the chance to use it. So I want to go ahead and farm it out. If anyone in the chat or out on Twitter or Periscope or wherever the hell you're watching the show, if anyone out there actually has an experience with it, what your experience was. From my understanding, from the user point, it was good if you could justify actually going to the movies that many times. Me, myself, I probably get to the movies 3-4 times a year tops. But
So you're losing money.
I would be.
Yeah, they were betting on people like you. But they were not counting on people that just kept going like every other day, because that's
Which
what
doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Of course, people would use it that way.
Yeah, because that's what like my friends were doing, and I remember the first time I heard about it, it sounded like it was illegal or something like that. It sounded like it felt like when I heard it, I was like, is this like my dad giving me like a beer to drink when I'm like 15 or something? Like, should I tell people about this?
Yeah. Should I call the cops?
Yeah, because I was like, how does that work? Is this like a pirating thing? Is this like a
one of the other elements is that I don't believe that they were working directly with the movie theaters, which means that MoviePass, even though they were probably buying a lot of tickets in bulk or wholesale, whatever, they weren't getting any sort of deal on it, because a lot of the movie theater chains were, I think, against it, or they were trying to like add more controls onto it. So that cost them even more money.
Yeah, it would become like around the time that, and people that had movie passes, I remember, I think BuzzFeed News did a big story on this, where it was like the life of somebody who just continually goes into like a movie theater and like messes it all up for theater employees. I think it's going to be like a dead period, and now it's like filled with people. And like cleaning is like much more of a pain, all that stuff. There's definitely like side effects to like when tech thinks like, oh, we're just gonna come in and like change everything, and
We're going
like,
to make things better.
Yeah.
We're going to disrupt stuff.
we're gonna go bankrupt.
Well, yeah. In this case, it did not work.
Well, Timothy wants to know if the investors of MoviePass are actually going to get their money back somehow. Do we have any background information on that?
I think they're doing what's called they're looking for strategic alternatives at this point, which is basically they're trying to find some way to squeeze some money out of, I don't know, the brand or the assets, whatever it is that they have. I don't really know what the assets are. It's a very simple app with a very simple structure. So they're trying to figure it out, and the way that things go these days, hardly anything ever dies. So it is possible that the brand will live again in some other form, but I think it's been proven pretty clearly that the business model, at least as it started, and then even afterward when they jacked up the prices, really did not work, and it wasn't working very well at all. So
Yeah, I also don't know enough about stonks to say this, but like, can you get your money back as an investor? I always thought it was like, well, tough luck. You bet on a dead horse.
Yes, you are right. So when it comes to stocks, like the like actual investors in the stock are like generally the last people.
Well,
to,
what if
to
it's
make
something
money.
like MoviePass where like it's not a stock? Like it's
Oh,
just-
it is
yeah.
a stock.
Oh,
They're owned by
are
a
they?
publicly
Oh,
traded
okay, I
company
did not know
called
that.
Helios.
Okay, well,
Helios, and I hope nobody watching had actually invested in Helios because I don't think they're worth that much anymore. But yeah, it's usually if you lend a company money, you tend to get the money back faster than the investors, like the owners. The owners are the last people to make any money back if a company goes belly up.
What do we think about competitors? Is this going to open the floodgates? Michael Brown cites that he uses AMC's A-List, which is a direct competitor to MoviePass. Totally worth it if you go to the movies all the time. I loved it, $20 a month, and the first 3 movies are free a week. What's that? 20 for 3? Three free movies a week. Do we think we're going to see more fractioning, like how we've kind of seen the a la carte TV go? You know, we started off with Netflix and then Hulu, and now everybody and their brothers got their own streaming platform. We're going to see that kind of happen in the ashes of MoviePass.
I don't think so. I think the movie industry, or at least the theater industry, is kind of whack. I mean, there's a reason why like the top like movies are like either sequels or remakes or Disney's like Mega Millions. It's no one likes going to movie theaters. They suck. And I guess this is why MoviePass was so popular, because they're like, you paid so little to get all this out of it. But yeah, like I hate going to the movie theaters, and like a lot of movies suck. And if they're good enough, I'll catch it on a streaming service later. It's like, why take time out of my day to go sit in a dark theater and do all that stuff? I mean, like there's theaters that are trying to get around that, like Alamo Draft House, or like, oh, we make this whole experience where you can eat like this cool burger and have a beer while you watch a movie. But
Just go to a restaurant.
it's not really gonna save it. It's just, movie theaters are whack. And I'm sorry if you go to movie theaters a lot and like have some of these plans like our Michael Brown does, but it's just, I don't.
Well, you don't have to apologize. That's just your personal feeling.
Yeah.
And, I don't like skydiving. So, I'm not going to make people
Sky
do that.
Pass.
Sky Pass.
You go Sky.
I think the AMC one that Michael mentioned is the only one that I know off the top of my head, because in general, movie theaters were perfectly fine with their existing business model. I think they were a little
They've
nervous
been struggling for a while.
They
Like,
have been,
yeah.
but I think they were a little uncomfortable with the idea of MoviePass, but it didn't really cause a lot of them to move in that direction, because they're just trying to like hold on to the market that they currently have.
Yeah,
At
but
this
like
point.
movie theaters have been consistently struggling
Yes.
for like
Yes,
years.
because of people like you
Yeah.
that aren't that into
Young
the movies.
people.
Yes, exactly. I mean, I go to the movies sometimes with my kids when it's like a big to do, like there's a like new
Yeah,
kids
that's the
movie
thing.
out there.
Yeah,
and that's
it
basically
feels
it.
like such an effort to go to the
Right.
movie theater, and it sucks. It's not fun.
Well, see, I don't know if I'm completely on board with it, Alfred, but I like the way Ben phrased it. It's a sometimes thing when it's a big to-do. If you did go to it all the time, it'd take kind of the magic out of it. I don't mind going to the movies and spending too much on popcorn and soda pop, 2, 3, 4 times a year, when it's something where I'm really looking forward to the Avengers, and I'm going to go in there with all kinds of anticipation, and I'm going there with friends. It's a social experience. They put the arcades out front. That's a bonus. They've started to, as you mentioned, enhance the experience from the Alamo Draft House type situation, which, choice, love that. But also 4DX theaters, RPX experiences, IMAX bringing up their game. 3D movies again, all of them you could argue not exactly landing, but they're trying, and I think that's an important part to keep in mind, where it is supposed to be an experience, but if it becomes part of your day-to-day, what's more special about it than just watching TV?
Sure.
That's
Which
my
also
2 cents
sucks,
on it.
by the way.
Yeah, fair enough.
Especially broadcast. I'm kidding.
No, you're not. Let's go ahead and shift over and take this question. Do you think that smart devices will have an onboard NFC chip where you tap your phone to it to set up routines, such as tap it when you're leaving the house or turning off Wi-Fi, lights, etc.? I don't know. That's a good question. I think we've kind of already skipped over that and done more with voice commands, have we not?
Correct. Yeah, that's exactly right. If you want to do routines, you can just set them up on the app and then just tell the voice assistant when you're leaving the house to set up different things. So I think the NFC is an idea, but it would necessitate like going up to the device itself. And I think that a lot of times they created all these far field microphones and all these different elements so that you can just do it from across the room. So
Yeah, I think the
wouldn't see
idea
that.
was, unless you're talking about like setting up like a completely brand new device where like you don't want to like type all your settings into it, you can just like scan your phone onto it and then it's like, oh yeah, this is this person, he likes waking up at like 4 p.m. I don't know.
The other thing too is like adding NFC into a device. You're just adding more product into it, and therefore it's probably going to like increase the total cost of making it. I don't
Isn't
think
NFC pretty standard though?
it's
in a lot of
not.
devices
It's not
these
that
days?
expensive,
yeah.
but the way that they price these things, I think they're trying to find ways to like
Yeah.
just cut down the price.
I mean,
as
I can
much
see
as
them
possible.
doing that for like a payment option as well. Like if I want to order like a pizza or something and I don't want to give it my number, I can just like tap my card on
Okay,
it. Yeah.
that actually makes a lot of sense because as far as like payments or privacy stuff, maybe there would be a good reason to like put in your PIN or
Yeah.
tap your phone or whatever so that you're not saying it out loud.
Yeah.
Because that's why like a lot of there's been this push in the market to do like more banking or like medical advice, a lot of different like bigger lift things with voice assistants, and they're not really taking off. Like people just listen to music. They like they ask what time it is, they check the weather, stuff like that. They don't really want to like talk about
Hey Siri, my social security number is
right, exactly. So and that's something that's been talked about for at least the past like year or two, and it really like folks aren't that excited about it. They'd rather just pull out their phone and do it in a more private way. So is NFC going to fix that? I don't know.
So, from my perspective, I'm not really all that versed in NFC usage. I know it exists on my phone. I just don't engage with it that much. Is it is it debatably safer than other alternatives for I don't know, engagement, interaction with smart devices? What's the security like on that?
NFC is basically, it's a lot like Bluetooth. It's just another form of, it's NFC is near field communication.
Mm-hmm.
So you know, Apple Pay uses it, Google Pay uses it. That's how you actually set up payments for, you know, any of those tap to pay systems. Specifically with digital, is it safer or better? I would probably say that it's clearly safer or better than saying private information out loud, even if it's in your house. But is that something that people want or are interested in? Again, going back, like folks are not doing a lot of their banking on their voice assistants.
Yeah, and as far as like the hardware security of it, I mean, multiple like major banking institutions like are perfectly fine with NFC security. I haven't looked at the encryption on it, but it's fine enough that there's no like glaring red flags that I hear about every day.
Yeah, it's used a lot.
All right, pivoting back over into MoviePass before we get into the Amazon discussion, because we got a lot of really great Amazon chatter going on here. This is a great question. I love this. Do you see Netflix working with movie theaters whereby people watch new originals exclusively in the theaters for the experience and the social engagement? Also, that puts them in the running for major awards. I know they've done that a couple of times now. Didn't they do that with like Bright, and I can't remember what else, but
Roma was also
Amazon did it too. Yeah.
Amazon had the Big Sick. They only do that to be qualified for awards. I don't think they care
They
at
do
all
it as
about
little as
movie
possible.
theaters. Yeah, if they really wanted that whole experience, they would have put these like pretty damn good movies in theaters for longer, but it costs them money to do that, and they don't really want that. They kind of just want to be like eligible for an Oscar.
Right, or an Emmy.
Yeah.
So is that going to happen more often? Probably not. I feel like especially, I wish Joan were here to talk more about this, but I feel like Netflix especially has a pretty negative reputation or negative relationship with the theater companies.
Yeah.
You know, just because their business models are entirely different.
Yeah.
You know.
Whatever happened to the Alexa-enabled microwave? Does it make any waves lately? See what he did there?
Oh my God. That
was
it
a
exists.
Ben caliber joke, by the way.
It exists. I'm pretty sure they're already selling it, and I guess it's doing fine. I'm assuming it's doing fine because Amazon has a ton of data on what sells on its website. So I certainly don't have one, but the way that they priced it, they made it very interesting for, you know, dorm rooms or, you know, like small apartments, that kind of thing.
What other devices would we like to see Lady A integrated into? Alan wants a bedside lamp.
Why don't you just get a
we
smart
already have
bulb?
that.
Yeah.
We already have we have like multiple bedside lamps. One of the problems that I have with like the event coming up is that they already have so many products out there, and they already did this huge like throw spaghetti at the wall event last year, that what exactly are they going to do that's really all that different? I don't know. Like, it's possible that they ran out of ideas already, but
Are there any rumors at all floating around, Ben, before we get to the 25th here?
So the rumors are, like, the most interesting one is the Alexa robot. That came from Mark Gurman at Bloomberg, who's, you know, generally very credible. He does a lot of Apple scoops. So when he wrote about it, people definitely paid attention. The thing is that it's still pretty vague. Like, what exactly is an Alexa robot? Is it humanoid? Is it just a Roomba? We don't know. The other one is that there's supposed to be a premium tier Echo speaker. That's obviously been something that they've been lacking for several years on their product line. So we're expecting that might actually come out this year. And then also going back with the wearable. Financial Times last year, I think, wrote that Amazon was toying around with smart glasses that included Lady A. Is that what we're going with?
Yes.
In them. But, you know, is that something that the market is really interested in? I find myself very skeptical about that. You know, you've already got the Snapchat spectacles out that haven't really done particularly well. Google Glass was also like pretty bad. So are people going to jump all over themselves to get a voice assistant powered pair of glasses? I don't know.
What if they start replacing other third-party smart devices in your home, like the iRobot or Roomba vacuums?
I mean, they've done that.
That's like kind of their MO. They like see what's popular in the ecosystem, and then they just start making their own version of it.
Like Apple.
Basically.
Even
but
more
with
so.
Hardware, yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, like the most obvious example is Nucleus. That was this, you know, fun little startup that created the Echo Show, which is an Amazon Echo with the touchscreen enabled on it. They created it before Amazon actually did. Amazon even invested in the company, and they came out with a rival product and basically killed the startup. So, and Amazon does that a lot. They created products that go directly against TP-Link. They did that last year.
Yeah, I mean, that's what, didn't they just announce their own like smart TV also?
They're
making
yeah,
their
but
own
they
TV.
team up. No, they don't create their own smart
Okay.
TVs. They team up with TV makers. So
Okay.
that hasn't happened yet. But in general, a lot of the smaller players in the market have had to compete against the fact that like Amazon will eventually make a product that's very similar to yours if it gets a certain amount of traction. So
Yeah, definitely looking forward to the Everyday Charger show from Amazon.
Right.
The live show where they only talk about Amazon.
that's how we know we
products.
will have made it. So yeah.
All that until Amazon eventually just replaces you. Brian with an IM says, I just tried Focus by North Smart Glasses. That had Lady A in them, and that's a big no. Here's another good question from Tim. He says, how about an ad hoc version where you can play Jeopardy on the go? Do we see more ad hoc third-party development? I know Google opened things up for development, but what about Amazon?
Yeah, there are a ton of voice apps. They call them skills, but they're basically voice apps, and they have tens of thousands of them.
But,
and I think they
right,
already
but
have Jeopardy. And
What
a lot
about
of other-
hardware?
There's a ton of Alexa enabled hardware. There's just like, I remember at CES this past year, they had an enabled keyboard, sprinkler system, motorcycle helmet. They put them in all sorts of stuff these days. They're basically like, Amazon opened the floodgates a couple years ago and were like, look, if we can dominate the marketplace by having as many partners as possible, by just basically sprinkling our voice assistant in everything, will hit everybody early and be able to just kind of take over. And that's been pretty successful. Google's trying to catch up with them still. But yeah, Apple tends not to do that. They're a little bit more methodical.
Yeah,
and they've
because
been well
why?
behind them.
Like I understand market dominance, but like, am I really gonna prefer to buy a motorcycle helmet because I can talk to a voice assistant on it? There's so many things that I'm like, this does not need a voice assistant.
Right.
Like,
I agree with you, and it's just kind of gotten a little overboard lately. But
I feel like everyone thinks that it's gonna be like some sort of like Iron Man Jarvis communications. He's like, yo, check it out, like my gloves, like I can talk to them. But what are you really doing with that?
I don't know. In my family, I'm actually personally ready to like unplug all of my Echo speakers because my kids now talk to them. I have 3 kids and they're all little and they talk to them constantly. And it's gotten to the point where it's driving my wife and I crazy. So it was definitely
I hate it
useful.
when my kids talk.
No, it's just like they just like constantly are like barking at the voice assistants, and we have them like in a lot of places in our house. So it was brought in as a convenience to make things a little bit easier, but instead, like, so as a for instance, like you can tell your kid not to watch television, but if you have an Echo Show in your house, they could just turn it on very easily themselves and just start watching it in the kitchen. So we had one of those, and we also had like an Echo Spot that was at like it was low enough that my 3-year-olds could use it. So like one of my kids would just start watching Timu Mizumi just because he could. So eventually I got rid of it. I was just like,
congrats
stop
on getting
watching stuff.
owned by children.
Yeah, I know, right? I mean, like it happened pretty early, but I expect it to happen more often.
I mean, we've definitely hit that point where it is integrated into probably arguably too many things. It's definitely a case of throw whatever you can at the wall, see what sticks. It's probably a little premature, but I think eventually it's going to level off. Like the honeymoon period is very rapidly petering out, and we'll just kind of see where it's most best integrated. And it's probably going to remain in your pocket and maybe 1 or 2 devices floating around the house.
Well,
likely
the
attached to an
honeymoon
entertainment
period.
system.
So going back to the honeymoon period, that's a good point, and you know that's why I referenced what Alfred was talking about specifically with, you know, privacy stuff. So you wrote about how they just persistently will hold on to transcripts for an extended amount of time. People are just starting to become much more aware of what goes on with these voice assistants and what is done with the data. And is that slowing down sales? No, not really, not quite yet. But at least people are a little bit more aware in the marketplace as far as what's going on.
So that's actually kind of a perfect segue into one of the last couple of questions here. From Ryan, does deleting your search or voice history mess with how the assistant works with you?
Yeah, it actually does. I've done this with my Google Home.
Same here.
Where it like won't recognize your voice as well. It'll like start saying you're saying like one thing as instead of another, because it learns to recognize your voice and your speech patterns, which sounds very creepy. But like when you delete it all, it's like, I have no idea who this person is. Are you asking me to play like this? Like who's like, where do you want me to play this music on? Like what account do you want me to play this off of? So when you do that, that's kind of what they want though. They want to make it harder for you. Like
they warn you.
Yeah.
Like I remember, so I've done that with my Echo speakers at least 2 or 3 times. And they warn you ahead of time. They were like, this is going to degrade, this has the potential to degrade your service. Mm-hmm. And it absolutely did.
So this falls into this whole idea and like this idea of like, or at least illusion of like consent, where it's like, oh, you have complete control and consent over like what happens with your data. But just so you know, if you do this, like, it's not really going to work. So it's like, is it really consent or privacy or control if, you know, they take away like so much, like just for me to want my privacy on that kind of thing?
Huh? That's a very good point.
And before we call it a day, let's do an upgrade or an update on the comparison between Lady A and Google Assistant. Which one is more capable these days? That's
Google
probably
Home.
a bit of a subjective take on this one.
No,
but at the
no,
same
it's
time,
not subjective
it's
at
not
all.
subjective.
hold on. There's the second part. Which one is more popular as well?
Oh, we have the answers to both
neither of
those.
these are subjective questions. It's like the Home Assistant is much more capable than Alexa ever is. Like Alexa is not that smart compared to the Home Assistant.
There have been multiple third-party studies that we've reported on several times that have shown how the Google Assistant, partly because Google is just so good at search.
Yeah, and their AI
they're
like
well
a
ahead.
force. Yeah,
So-
it's gonna take a while for Alexa to catch up to it.
Right, exactly. So, and going to that point, Amazon did have the benefit of being the first mover in this space. So the install base in the United States is about 70% Amazon, about 25% Google, and 5% HomePod at this point. So it's going to take Google a long time to catch up because we're talking about a total install base, not sales on any particular year or quarter. So that means that there are millions of customers out there that are like me. They already have Lady A just integrated into a lot of different components of their house. And, you know, you switch to Google Home.
Yeah, it's not that hard to switch.
It's not that hard, but a lot of people don't do it. And if they already have like that as the default, they kind of tend to stick with it, which is, I think, that was a big benefit for Amazon, and that was kind of their intention.
My last poll to the audience before we wrap it up for the day is how many of your Lady A smart devices were offended when Alfred said she wasn't that smart? Go ahead and sound off in the comments below or tweet at us at The Daily Charge. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. We'll be back tomorrow. And Ben?
All right, let's do this thing. Thanks for all your questions. Keep sounding off here or in the comments or on Twitter. While you're at it, go ahead and throw us a like or ring the bell so you can catch us live weekday mornings at 11:15 a.m. Eastern time. Sorry. I always mess this up. Don't forget, you can also subscribe to the audio podcast on virtually every platform available, where you can find both the shorter Need to Know show as well as the extended supercharged edition if you just can't get enough of the Daily Charge. We've also got the links below in the description for the Daily Charge. I'm Ben Fox Rubin.
I'm Alfred Eng.
Thanks for joining us.